How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This week I got a huge shipment of parts, so let's roll that intro and see what we got. So a couple of weeks back, I ended up selling my old SSR wheels, the ones that I used to use at the track, and I basically put that cash towards the Frankenstein Civic Turbo build. So I ended up ordering all these parts. I'm really anxious to get these things unboxed, so let's get into it. So this is something I've been talking about ordering for a while. This package is from Innovative Mounts, so let's open this up and see what we got. Oh yeah. So this is an alternator relocation bracket. So basically, this is going to mount my alternator down lower so that it's going to be out of the way of the turbo, and that way I can mount a nice proper filter on there and nothing's going to be in the way. So like I said, guys, this is something I've been after for a while and it's finally arrived, and I think we're going to test fit this a little bit later today. It looks really good. Should line up really nice, so I'm pretty excited about that one. All right, these next three are from AEM, and I'm gonna start with this one. I bet you guys already know what it is. All right, so this is a new high flow fuel rail, and it looks gorgeous. That is gonna look so good. On the top of the H22, it's black, just like the block, so it's gonna match really nicely. I'm very excited about that. We got all the fittings here, sticker of course, so I'm excited about that. Right, so this is a new fuel filter from AEM, and that's also going to clean up the engine bay quite a bit. I do have a reusable, like washable fuel filter on the car right now, but I think this one's really going to clean up the engine bay, and I just want to make sure that the fuel system is going to perform as good as it possibly can, and so that's why I got this. This also came with the kit, so yeah, I'm very happy with that. It looks amazing. Now this one should be the fuel pressure regulator. Yeah, that'll work really nicely. I'm happy with the way that looks. That should fit right up to our fuel rail. It all came as part of the same kit. Comes with all the fittings you need. So everything should be here to get this thing hooked up. So that's great. That was a big one that I was waiting for, and this thing is going to flow really nicely. The fuel system should not have any problems. All right, now these two, I actually hadn't been planning on getting these, but I had a crazy idea one day and I decided to order. So these are from Blocks, and we're gonna open these up and see what we got here. So this is a brake booster, master cylinder, or I should say a brake booster delete master cylinder, because I will be deleting the brake booster on Frankenstein. Now, manual brakes is something that I've never experienced before, so it's something I will be experiencing now, and if I don't end up liking it, I can always switch back. But this kit came with everything I need to delete the brake booster. So we got the reservoir and master cylinder here. Got the lines here, and this should be the block off plate. Look at that, guys. That looks dang good. So basically where the brake booster is now, this is going to mount on the firewall, and this reservoir and master cylinder will bolt up to this, and then we got all our lines here. That's going to really clean up the engine bay too. I'm pretty stoked about that. That is going to look really good. And I almost forgot about this. Now this is something I also got this week, but I ended up ordering it on Black Friday, and it's been sitting across the border for a long time. So we were finally able to go and get it from the US, and here it is. So got some more stuff from Downstar. This is some more dress-up washers. So I got 3 different sizes, and I got 20 of each size. So now I just need to track down some bolts that'll fit these. There is a local hardware store that can order the stuff in for me. So I'm gonna go through them for the hardware. And then I also ordered a starter bolt kit. So this comes with 2 bolts and the dress-up washers for that as well. So got that from Downstar, and I got one more thing that I wanna show you guys. All right, guys. Well, I actually picked this up quite a few years ago already, but this is the intake that I'm gonna be using on the turbo build. I never got around to using it on the NA motor, and mainly because it's a bit of a chore to remove the intake manifold off the engine once it's in the bay. This is pretty much your stock H22 intake manifold, or at least it started out that way, but it's had the butterfly valves deleted out of it, and also if we crack this open, you'll see that it's been fully ported. So this is going to have a lot better airflow than the factory one. And the reason I'm going with this and not something aftermarket is because inside an EK, there is very little clearance between the intake and the firewall. So if we have a look over here, right now this is just a factory H22 intake manifold. There is not a whole lot of clearance back here. So even if I wanted to try removing this intake, it would be a bit of a chore to try and get it off the engine while it's in the bay. So that's kind of one reason I didn't go aftermarket. Also, I've already fabbed up all of this turbo piping, which I would end up having to redo because aftermarket intake manifolds usually sit a lot lower. There are some that are a lower profile and they sit closer to the engine, but if I was running one of those, I would end up having to modify this piping because it wouldn't line up properly. I may still have slight alignment issues now because without the butterfly valves in here, it is actually sitting a little bit lower. So we won't know until we actually fit that intake manifold in the bay with all this piping. I think worst case scenario, I may just have to take a little bit off of here so that it sits a little bit lower, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But that's basically what I'm gonna be running. Plan for this intake manifold. As you can see, there are a lot of vacuum ports that are not used anymore. PCV, this will go to the brake booster. So a lot of that stuff that I've already deleted or will be deleting, I'm not going to need any of these ports for. So what I'm probably going to end up doing is cleaning this intake up a bit, just to make it look a little better. It'll clean up the engine bay, but I kind of want to remove all of these vacuum ports that aren't being used and weld it shut, just to kind of clean it up a bit. Now, if I do end up needing vacuum lines for whatever reason, maybe boost gauge and that kind of thing, I would rather kind of mount them on the backside, maybe a little bit lower, so they're not going to be seen as easily. So I'll probably end up plugging up all these existing ones that aren't in use, and if I end up needing one, I will end up making a port myself in the back somewhere where it's not going to be seen, and it'll just hide everything. It'll look really clean, and then once all that is done, I want to get this thing powder coated black, and it's going to look great. All right, guys, so now I want to test fit the alternator relocation bracket on the block. So I believe it mounts down here where the power steering bracket used to be. So it looks like the holes line up pretty good. I'm gonna bolt this thing on and see how it looks. All right, well that looks pretty good on there. These are not the bolts that I'm gonna be using. I'm gonna get some proper Downstar hardware for this, but for a temporary fit, this is gonna work. So I did end up taking the alternator out of the car, which is sitting right here. So we can try and test fit this on there now too. This one I will not be using. I will be getting a new one because, as you can see, I ended up modifying this one for the old turbo setup, which I cannot get proper tension on this with it modified like this. But for a test fit, it's gonna work just fine. All right, guys, alternator is now on, and I put the crank pulley on as well, just so I can get an idea of how this is gonna line up. It looks like it's gonna line up pretty good. I ended up putting the old belt on here also, which is already a size small compared to the factory one, and it's still gonna be too big. So I'm gonna have to custom order another belt because this is gonna end up coming way out to here in order to make this belt work. And I will be getting an aftermarket harmonic balancer anyway, so I'm not gonna order a belt until I get that. So at least I know that this belt isn't gonna work, and I probably would have ended up having to order a new one anyway, but at least I know this all lines up good. Everything bolts up the way it should, and that's good. If we go into the engine bay here also, I took the original bracket off, and down low there is where it's going to mount, and I have piles of room here, so I am not too worried about clearance issues. Where it was mounted before, it got very close to the headlight housing actually, probably within like a 1/4 inch of it. So I'm gonna feel a lot better about having the alternator mounted down there, and it's gonna be nice and out of the way. Now I wanna make sure that the fuel rail is going to fit onto the intake manifold. So I got the fuel rail and pressure regulator all put together here. I'm gonna mock it up on here. I got some old injectors. These are actually the old ones that were on there, and as you can see, these O-rings are very crusty. I think there's only one good one left on here, and I am surprised that these were not leaking all over the place, because that is no good. So I will be ordering new injectors, obviously, because I'm gonna need bigger ones for boost. But yeah, I'm gonna get this on there. We'll see how it lines up. All right, guys, that is looking so good. I wasn't quite able to get the fuel rail down all the way because of these O-rings. They're not cooperating. Either way, this is gonna work. Everything's lining up as it should. I will be getting proper hardware on here down the road anyway. I wanna get some clean nuts for it. So either way, now I know that it lines up. Everything looks good. Super stoked about that. All right, so now that I know that this stuff fits, now I kind of have an idea of what I still need to order. So a couple big things is a wiring harness. That's probably going to be the biggest thing right now. I'm also going to need a fuel pump, fuel injectors. I still need a bunch of new sensors for the engine as well. So there's still quite a few things I need to order, which I was planning on doing this week, but some stuff happened. So as you guys probably realized, there was a point there where we weren't really putting out a whole lot of content, and the reason for that was I was working pretty hard on getting the snowmobile up and running so I could sell it. So I ended up getting it working perfect, and I ended up selling it. I got exactly what I wanted for it. But as you guys know, my daily driver is a Chevy Sonic, and I was driving to work one morning and it lost all oil pressure. So I pulled over and turned the car off and brought it into the shop. They had a look at it. Apparently it's the oil pump. I don't think there's any engine damage, but it's gonna cost a fair amount to get it fixed. So basically I sold the snowmobile, and now I'm gonna have to put that money towards fixing the Sonic. So unfortunately, these parts that I need are gonna be on hold for a little bit longer because of this. We'll see how much it costs in the long run to get the Sonic fixed, but kind of once it's up and running again, I'll be able to start saving up for parts. So just so you guys know, it might slow down a little bit, and that's why, but I still think we're making good progress here. There's still a lot of stuff that I can get done with the current parts that I have, so I don't think it's too much of a setback. It's just gonna be a little bit extra time to get those parts in the end, but I think we'll still get a lot done in the meantime. But anyway, guys, that is gonna wrap up the video for today. Thanks a lot for watching. If you liked the video and you're stoked about the progress, definitely give a thumbs up. Drop me a comment below, let me know what you think. If you have any suggestions or anything like that, we'd love to hear from you guys. And if you haven't subscribed already, definitely consider doing so. We put out a lot of content with Hondas and racing and all kinds of stuff like that. So if that interests you, definitely consider subscribing. Also, we do have an online store where we sell merch. We've got a few stickers on there. And so if you want to support the channel, or if you want to support this build specifically, I do have a specific sticker dedicated to the Frankenstein Civic build. So if you want to help support the build and help it move along a little faster, just pick up a sticker. It's free shipping in Canada and the US. So definitely check that out, and we'll see you next time.